All right, hello and welcome to the next lesson from Last Epoch University. This is lesson 6 and it's on in-game and third-party tools. What tools can you use to help you make your character and do the content and find the gear you need, so on and so forth. This lesson is starting to get a little bit more advanced. It's still very much new player friendly. You'll learn a lot if you're just starting in the game. Got a few hours in though, and you're looking for some ways to really work on your character, learn the game a little bit better. This is going to be really valuable for you as well. And there might even be some stuff in here for players who've been around for a good bit longer. Just some like tips and tricks that they may not have known. Okay, we're going to start with in-game stuff. The character sheet. So this is like the most basic first place you want to go to get information on your character. It updates in real time, which makes it especially valuable, so you can actually put your buffs on and whatnot and see how your character changes as you go. Let's look at some of the sections on here in order. Okay, we'll start with the top. We have your character name and your class, your level, all that stuff, how much experience you have. You have your basic stats over here. These stats, by the way, we're going to go through all these stats in the next lesson, so don't worry too much about like what these stats do. They'll be covered very, very soon. But if you're looking for like how much strength and dexterity you have, you look up here. Health, mana, health regen, mana regen, move speed over here. And your resistances panel is right here. All of your resistances all in one place. And then any other defenses you have, each sheet tends to consider these like secondary defenses are over here. So your block chance, your armor, your stun avoidance, your ward retention, your dodge, and your block effectiveness. And block chance too. That should show here. Actually, no, block chance here, block effectiveness here. Yeah, right. Okay. Then from there, you have these 4 little panels that give you more detailed stuff. In your damage, of course, you have all of your damage stats, which includes your attack speed for different kinds of attacks, bow, cast, melee, your crit strike stuff, your stun chance, damage over time stuff, your specific damage type stuff, spell, melee, cold, lightning, that's all here. Then your defense tab gives you most of your secondary stuff, your critical strike avoidance, your endurance, stuff that's not showing up on the additional defenses. Reflect stuff over here, health / sustain stuff right here. Your minion stats are mostly in here. I think there might be some, is there some minion stuff in here? No, there's not directly minion stuff in here. So all your minion stuff will be in here. And then other stats are going to cover things like ailments, like bleed, poison, ignite, so on and so forth. Potion info, mana efficiency, and these are more like ailment type stuff. And then there's a healing. This one, interestingly, probably should be in defense, but it's here currently. So this is a great way to look at a glance and see all your basic stats and where they are. A couple of things to note. Let's say, for example, you are playing a physical bow skill. I'm actually playing a cold bow. Let's just do that. A cold bow skill. And you look in here and you see you have 267% bow damage and 336% cold damage. Now you might think that those necessarily add together. That's not necessarily the case, because there are some times where you can get increases to damage that overlap. So anytime there's like a generic stat that would affect bow or cold, which are fairly unusual, but it can happen, those will not add together because they'll both show up in this sheet. A great example of this is like elemental damage. If you have elemental, it'll add to lightning, cold, and fire. It doesn't mean you have increase. Like if you have like a cold fire ability that's using both of them, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have like an addition on top. In fact, how it would work in that case is fire would only increase the fire portion of your skill, so any base fire, and then cold will only increase any base cold. Just keep this in mind as you're building. If you find stuff that has these hybrid, like it increases multiple areas on this sheet, that those things are not going, it's not getting, you're not double dipping, so to speak. You're not getting a double dip effect on it. Let's see, anything else that we need to know as like general stuff? Oh yeah, the basic attack DPS, also don't worry too much about this. There's a much better way of getting a general sense of your damage. It's really just going to look at like very basic damage with like your actual base skill. Like if you had on base attack right here, that's what it's giving you. You're never going to do that though, so you really don't need to know it. There's, like I said, a much better way to find out that information. Okay. So as I mentioned in here, Many of these stats are generic, but actually we can go a little bit more into detail into these generic stats. So, for example, let's go into other stats. We've got this bleed chance here, right? It says 0%, but that's not actually the case for my character. My character has a much higher bleed chance than that. But what my character has is a lot of bleed chance on bow hit. And bleed chance on bow hit's not going to show here, because this is generic bleed chance. This will only show if you have bleed chance on hit. If you have bleed chance on bow hit or bleed chance on melee hit, etc., you will not see it in this tab. So that's a good thing to also know. That these stats are not going to necessarily be accurate towards your character and its very specifics. In the future, this is probably going to change. You're going to have a lot more specific stats to manage this. But for now, you have to kind of do some hand calculations what kind of damage you have. This also won't show any stat gains you get inside of a skill. So, for example, I have puncture here, and in puncture I have some bleed effects. I've got 100% bleed chance here. I also have 60% poison chance. But as you can see down here, I still have 0 bleed and 0 poison chance. That's because those only apply directly to puncture, and this character sheet does not take into account any specific skill buffs. So you won't know about that either. And many stats aren't available. For example, Time Rot, which is a Sentinel skill, or Sentinel ailment, excuse me, that decreases attack speed and has a void dot on it. You won't see that in the character sheet. Damned is an necrotic specific one that's much more acolyte based. You won't see that either. So if you have those very specific ailments, you're not going to be able to find them in the character sheet. They're still on your character. They're still getting the benefit. You're just not going to see them in there. All right, let's move on to tooltips. Tooltips are a very valuable part of this game. They're generally really well done. Almost anything in the game you can hover over and get a tooltip. For example, health regen. I hover over it and I get some information, points of health regen per second. Let's go over void resistance. And I've got this very detailed tooltip on what void resistance is, how it works, how the enemies work in comparison to void resistance, how they have a penetratability, which we'll talk about that in the next lesson. Lots of detail. Armor, same thing. Block chance, all of these, like really lots and lots of tooltips in this game. Just about anywhere you can think of. Even your health bar has a very valuable tooltip that gives you information on ward, endurance, health regeneration, current health versus maximum. Just a bunch of information at your fingertips. So make sure to take advantage of tooltips because they're super, super valuable. And there are 2 types of them. So what I've shown you here was like the standard, where I have the character sheet info, I can see tooltips. Also passive nodes, I should show those too. Passive nodes have a lot of tooltips, very, very valuable. They also tend to have alt effects. Let me see if I can find one here. It has an alt effect on it. I bet you puncture's probably got some. This one here, no alt effect there. I'm really not going to find one. There we go. There's an alt effect. So if there's more detail it needs, like this one's got frenzy. This gives you frenzy, but like what's frenzy? I press alt and there's frenzy. Grants 20% increased attack and cast speed. It does not stack. Let's see. Passive nodes, skill nodes, HP bar, etc. Yeah. So there's a lot of different places you can have standard tooltips. They're generally well detailed. They're a good way to gain quick info. And like I showed you, the alt function on those exists in a lot of places. So if it feels like the information's not enough, see if there's an alt, especially if there's anything underlined in the tooltip. That's a dead giveaway that there's alt info to be had. Now, the newest addition to the tooltip family is the DPS tooltip. This applies to skills. So if we hover over a skill, let's hover over puncture, it gives me a damage per second and a mana cost, as well as the tags which scale the skill. And a brief description of the skill. But if I press alt, I get even more information. So I get information on the dexterity scaling. And when using a bow, puncture deals 5% less damage to each subsequent enemy hit, up to 20% less damage. I do the same thing to Hail of Arrows. Mana cost. It's even got a cooldown on this, so I get the cooldown information, and the damage per second, the scaling tags, and how dexterity scales. If I go over something that's more like utility. Actually, Smoke doesn't even have an alt tab. That's interesting. Utility, sometimes you get other information, like the added effective damage is always a nice one to have on here. 600% effectiveness for the explosion. Gotta be destroyed before it expires. All this is just like really good information. The real star of the show, though, is probably the DPS part of it, because that's brand new. We didn't have that before. I think it's what, last patch? Yeah, last patch I believe we got the damage per second. But we need to cover that in a little more detail as well, because it is an estimate. It is not a guarantee. Not a guarantee. It's almost certainly not the amount of damage you're going to get. It does not consider all factors. Some of the most important ones that I can think of are if you have, for example, you shred on an enemy, shred armor, shred resistance. There's a lot of other things. There are even things within skills that are like really complicated for it to calculate, so it doesn't. So it really should be used as just a generic baseline idea of the kind of damage that the skill can use. And you shouldn't really use it to compare between skills, more within a skill. For example, like if you want to get a good idea of whether or not a particular bow is better than another one. Do I even have a bow in here? I don't. Let's grab a bow real quick. Let's see. Let's just grab anything. Let's grab something that's really crappy. Not a whole lot of crappy in here. This one's pretty bad. So I want to get an idea of whether or not this bow is going to be better than this bow. I look at hail of arrows, and the current bow I have is 5,248 damage per second. And I put on the blue bow here, and it goes in at 2992. So while those numbers aren't perfectly accurate, I have a pretty good idea that unless there's some factor that is really, really massive that this DPS calculator is just not considering, this bow is probably better than that blue bow. So you can use that as a good kind of standard baseline for your upgrades to see whether or not they seem to make a big difference, and think about whether or not there's anything it might not be considering. And if not, then it's probably an upgrade for you. Now, the game guide is a place that I think is really undervalued by a lot of players, especially newer players that probably don't even know exists. So first off, to open the game guide, you just press G. G opens your game guide. It looks like this, and it's got a whole bunch of information over here. This is getting updated regularly too. There's more information just about every patch that comes in here. And you click on one of these, and it gives you some information on what that thing is doing. Like plus skill level effects is brand new. We just got that. It gives you some information on what it does. It provides a lot of basic gameplay knowledge. But it also does something I think is even more valuable, is it gives you these under the hood formulas that are really, really good for theory crafting. We used to have to rely on an outside source for that, and now most of them are in here. Let's find a good example. Base damage actually is not that good. Let's see. Come on, give me a good one. I know we got some really good ones in here. Let's do increased added more's got some in here. You can see these are give you an idea of how increased, added, more are used together. So like, you know, start with your added, and then you have your increase, then you have your more multipliers on top of it, etc. We'll go into that more in the stats, by the way. So if you don't understand what that means, it's okay, you'll get there. Freeze, I think, has one in here. Yeah, here's the equation for freeze chance. I know stun's got one in here. There's a bunch of them in here. Do I have stun in here? Where'd stun go? Stun, there we go. Stun's got its calculations. So if you're really curious, okay, how exactly is this particular effect working? Like, how am I getting stunned? Why am I getting stunned so much? You can come in here and actually look at the equation and throw in some numbers that you think are what's happening in your, you know, in your actual gameplay, and get an idea of why that might be happening. Also really helps theory crafting up something. If I wanted to make a stun build, it's really good that I know how stun works and what numbers I kind of have to get to in order to get there. Okay, and the last thing, I believe is the last thing as far as the in-game stuff, is the training dummy, which may seem obvious to some of you, but a lot of people probably don't think too much about just how viable the training dummy can be. As I mentioned, the DPS is like just a generic, not even generic, but just like not comprehensive. There's a lot of things it doesn't factor in. The training dummy will factor a lot of those things in, like shred. If I've got shred and I hit the training dummy, its damage is going to go up. If I have other effects, its damage is going to go up. So it's considering on the target effects, because you can just see the numbers. You have to really eyeball it to get an idea, but you can get a good idea of the damage that you can do by just hitting the training dummy. And you can switch between weapons. Did I put that weapon away? I did. Let me grab that weapon back again. So, for example, let's just hit this one time. 1,037. I've got a dot on here, so that's why we're seeing those numbers. 879. There's another 800 something in there. 861. I switch over to this weapon. And I'm at 557, 591, 4. So obviously this is like a lot less damage. So very quick at a glance, you can use the training dummy for that. Thing to note on the training dummy though is it doesn't have any resistances. It doesn't have any damage reduction whatsoever that enemies in the world are going to have. So this is pretty much 100% of the time going to be higher damage than what you'll see in the world. So it really is more for comparative purposes to just see how your damage is going up in comparison to, you know, other factors that you're considering. Like if you switch out one node for another, this is a great place to look at it. Switch out an item for another to see how the damage compares on the training dummy. Just don't expect to have the same results when you're actually fighting monsters. Okay, let's start working towards our third-party tools, and we will start with Tunklab. Tunklab has been around for a long time. Tunk, a regular. I should not be in there. I should be in the third-party tools. Why am I in that one? Oh, right, I started. Tunk is a regular in the stream. Really great guy. Put this together for us. And how is Tunklab not up? What have I done? I'm so sorry, Tunk. Where did I put it? I failed you. All right, here we go. Here's Tunklab. What I love about Tunklab is there's just so many features in here, like more advanced concepts that you can't really get anywhere else. There's a lot of very detailed ways of analyzing the game. So I've got a few examples on here, but there's a lot more that I highly recommend exploring. I'll explore these ones, but there's definitely a lot of other things. So we have graphs for armor mitigation, block mitigation, and dodge chance. So for example, we go in here, armor mitigation. So how much armor do I need at X level to get X amount of mitigation? This will tell you, and it will tell you the current patch compared to a previous patch. So always do obviously the most current patch. Like if I've got 1,000 armor, let's say that'd be like right here-ish. And here, what level are we at here? That's mitigate percentage. This is actually at area level 100. So at level 100, if I got 1,000 armor, how much mitigation am I getting? I'm getting 23.858. What if I went to 2,000? How would it look like? I've got 34.892. So I can get a good idea of how much my mitigation is going to change as I put on more of whatever that defensive stat is. By looking at this graph, I don't have to calculate it by hand. It's all here for me. And if I want to do it by area level, I can also go and change it in here as well. And look at that. So this is like with 2,000 armor. And I can actually go down here and change how much armor I have. So if I go down to 1,000, I can see how much mitigation I'm going to have at different levels. Yeah, there's just a lot of ways to play with this. We do the same thing with block mitigation. So here's block mitigation by area level. Again, we can change this as we go. We can drop the area level or increase it, and look at how the effectiveness changes the actual mitigation. Go actually onto the graph and see what the number is. And we also have something similar for dodge chance. So these are really, really valuable if you're trying to build for defense. You need to know, like, what are my breakpoints? You can actually see on the curve, like, where it falls off, where it's strongest. Just super, super valuable stuff for theory crafting. There's calculators for each HP and ward. So this is great for comparing amongst defenses sometimes too. HP calculator. So I can put in my armor, I can put in my resistances, my endurance threshold, dodge, block, lancing blow. I can put all that stuff in here, and my health or my ward, and I can actually get an effective health pool from this. So maybe I want to compare, should I run more endurance here or should I just stack more HP? You can throw it in here and you can actually find out how that's going to affect your EHP. That's cool, but your screen is white. Oh, you got this. Oops. Why did that change? That changed a different that just changed not Tunklab, it changed something else. Okay, it's changing something on my other screen. I don't know why. But yeah, I use Dark Reader. Why is that doing that? It's so weird. Anyway, yeah, it's usually white, I believe, and then I just got a Dark Reader that turns it black. I don't know why I won't change it, though, so you can see it. Another really great one is arena scaling. A lot of people find that like arena's like, oh my god, I just got wrecked. I was doing great and I got wrecked in arena. I don't know why. Well, this scaling option here will give you a good idea why. Probably because you started scaling super strong right around here. All of a sudden the scaling just kind of goes wonky and it just goes way up. You can get a feel for how that scaling actually works, both in the arena. Actually, the Monolith of Fate is no longer does this anymore because it's like it just changed. It used to be Monolith of Fate was on, but now it's really just Arena. You can see what the Monolith of Fate scaling is just by doing the modifiers. But yeah, if you really want to know like why is Arena getting a lot harder, or how much harder is it going to get if I get to X wave, this is where you find that out. And the gambling sim can be pretty valuable too if you want a general idea of how much it's going to take to get. Oftentimes people use this for like uniques. Let's see. Let's say I want. We can't do Smoke Weaver because it's not in here because it's weird. Let's say we want. Where's the staff? We want the staff, the poison staff. We want to get. They changed that base, didn't they? Well, let's use another feature that we'll be going over in a minute. We want Plague Bearer staff. We want to get Plague Bearer staff. Plague Bearer staff is a gate staff. And so we're going to put gate staff in here. And we're going to gamble it 1,000 times and see what happens. So we gambled it 1,000 times. We got 993 normal items, so something craftable. White, blue, or yellow. And we got 7 uniques. And we spent 2.9 million gold. That's a 0.7% chance at a 414,000 average cost per unique per Plague Bearer staff. We could keep gambling to see how much it changed, and it'll maintain keep track. So let's say we want to go to 10,000, or we can just put it in here too. By the way, we can just do like a 10,000 gamble. So now we've gambled 28,000 times. We've got 27,838 normal items, 162 unique, a 0.58% chance, and about 500,000 average cost, which is about what you'd expect. Yeah, about 500,000 gold if you wanted to gamble Plague Bearer staff. So this can get you kind of set up for how much money am I likely going to have to spend in the gambler if I actually want to get the item that way. And the last thing is the quest locations and rewards. There's a lot more in this. I'm just not going to cover it comprehensively. So I definitely recommend playing around with Tunklab because it's got so many cool features. But this is a really valuable one if you want to know where does a quest start and what are the rewards for doing the quests, i.e. is it worth my time? Am I going to get passive points or idle slots? This is a great place to go and look for that. And you can actually filter by passive points or idle slots. And by doing so, you will see all of the quests that give that particular reward, whether or not they're a main or a side quest, and where they start. And then you can compare that with what you've done and see if you've missed any passives or idles by using this nice little tool. That's Tunklab. I love Tunklab. It is one of the 2 websites I use all the time. The next one is Lastepochtools. Lastepochtools is actually 2 features in one, or 2 tools in one. It's a database system. By the way, Tunklab also has a database system, and it's very good. I've just gotten used to using Lastepochtools, so it's the one I'm going to cover. But you can also use Tunklab's database system and have great success with it. But this one has a database system and a planner. The planner is relatively new, and it is currently the only one we have, but it's very good. The database is a great place to look up any item in the game, and you can search based on types through the left bar or anything through the search bar. Let me actually pull up something. So here is the database. So we start from the beginning. It looks like this. There's this left-hand side over here. And from here, you can just select a base. So like wand, and turn on basics. I can see all of the base type wands in the game. I can see all of the uniques in the game and all the sets in the game. If I click on one, say I'll just choose Obsidian Wand. Why is that not? I could have swore. Oh, right. It's just actually from wand direct. I don't need to click on it. Okay, so let me go back to wand. I've already confused myself. Wand, where are you? Wand, okay. But I don't need to click on it. From here, I can go from item over to prefixes. I can see what prefixes actually can go in wands. I can also see what suffixes go in wands. I can actually click these and get more information. So from here, I can find out, okay, I've got this cast speed affix, right? What can it go on? What are its tiers? But these tiers are a little misleading because these are like generic. What are the tiers if I put it on a wand? What are the tiers if I put it on a scepter, a dagger, and a 2-hand staff, etc.? Because they go on lots of things. You can see these numbers are different. So tier 5 cast speed on a wand is 21 to 26. But if I put it on a 2-hand staff, it's 38 to 48. So this is one way to search, is you just go through and you can look at it by base type. You can look at all the base types, as long as you go to item and the uniques and the sets, or you can look at the prefix and suffixes that could go on that base type. The other thing you can do is just search. Let's say I need to know about melee physical damage. So I put in melee physical damage, and I click on that, and I get the same information that way. But I'm also going to find out a broader amount of things that are related to melee physical. Like, I may not have known that if I'm playing a sentinel, there's a melee physical damage of wielding a sword affix that goes on helmets and body armor. I click on that, and I can see the skill values for helmets and body armor. This is a great way of getting a lot more comfortable with the affixes, the bases, but also getting the very specific information that you might need to theory crafts. Another good thing that's really good about this is it shows the rarity of a drop. Like, this is very rare, this is common, this is very rare. So I don't know the specific numbers, but obviously the drop rate for these are going to be a lot lower than for this, and also what the level requirement is. This is a level 48, this is level 57, so you won't see these dropping before that. Before area level 48, before area level 57. And they're going to be much rarer than, say, melee physical damages. You're going to see these a lot less, so you might want to consider maybe making, if you needed these, highlighting them in your filter to make sure that you don't miss them if they drop on the ground. The other thing that this can do is give you information on how to get uniques. For example, the Falcon here, the Double Owner's Toll, Prism Wraps, they have common rarity. We talked about rarity, but they also can't be gambled. That's because this base doesn't drop in the world. You don't find it in the Gambler. But the Shroud of Obscurity does. You can gamble on this. That's because Heretic Armor is a thing that Acolytes can have just drop in the world. And so they can also drop in the Gambler. Now, some items are boss specific. So, Dark Shroud of Cinders. This actually drops. It cannot be gambled. It does not drop in the world. It drops from the Void Shade of Rhea. And there's a 14.29% chance that you'll get it. So if you need a specific unique and you know how to get it, Lastepochtools is a great place to find out exactly where it comes from and what your likelihood of getting it is, whether or not you can gamble it or whether or not you need to fight a boss a bunch of times to get it. Okay, let's move on to the planner. Is like I said earlier, the only fully functional planner. Tunklab has a gear planner, but it's not as detailed as this one is. It's relatively easy to use, and another benefit of it is that the skill tooltips actually show the base damage. Whoa, why did we go dark there for some reason? Oh no, technical difficulties. Come back to me. Hey, Project PT and friends, welcome everyone. We are in the middle of a last Epoch University session, so I apologize if I'm not gonna respond to chat too much right now until I'm done, but I much appreciate the raid, Project PT. Okay, so we go into the skills panel, and we hover over a skill that's a damage skill. You actually see the base damage. Like this one's 15 physical. In the game, you can't see that. You cannot currently see the base damage. So if you want to know what the base damage of a skill actually is, this is a great way to find out. And also stats from both passives and gear update in the character sheet over here. So this is new also to this system. So if you put in like your passives and then you put in gear, you'll actually update it in the character sheet on the planner. Okay, let's just go ahead and go through how to actually use the planner. It's a pretty simple, straightforward process. There are two ways to do so. You can create a new character completely on here, like a new build, or you can import a build you're already working on. So we want to do an import. We go over here to this little button here. There's like upward arrow. We load from a save file. And so this gives you the instructions of exactly how to do that, how to get to it. I already know how to. So here is my save folder. You notice that it's all numbers, so it's kind of hard to tell what it is, but this does sort by most recently played. So I already know I've been playing Cold Marksman lately, so this will be my Cold Marksman. I loaded in. There's my Cold Marksman loaded into the planner with all of my gear, all of the stats exactly as they are in the game, all of my passives, all of my skills, everything is already loaded in. So this is a super, super easy way. Well, for some reason it thinks I don't have all of my points spent. Oh, that's because it's at a level 100. It's got to be putting level 100. That's kind of weird. Anyway, yeah, so you get all the stuff in that you want. My skills are all mostly done. For some reason, a couple of these points are off as well, but I wouldn't be surprised as related to gear. But outside of that, everything is all as you would have it. Even my blessings are in here. Should be showing actual though. Make sure that's showing actual, so it shows what your stats are at right now. Okay, so let's say we want to do a new character though. Someone we're gonna theory craft that we haven't even started playing yet. We're gonna go into here. We're gonna choose the class. Let's go Void Knight. It's gonna erase what I've got in here and choose your level. We'll put it at 100. That's as high as we're gonna go. And then make sure you have this set the way you want to. Actual, min, average, max. I suggest probably average as you're putting gear in. From here, it's just a matter of updating everything you need. So we'll start with the passives. We'll go in here. You can either press P. You can actually press P while you're in here. Just press P and it pops up. Or you can go into that little button down there. That's not covered up good. And you can get into passives that way. And then you can just start putting points in. As you do, skills will unlock. You actually need to do this for skills to unlock. Else you can't use them in the planner. We'll just put our points in. Anything that is relevant to the stat sheet will be updating. I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff in here just so we can have some skills to work with. Okay, that's pretty good. So now my passives have started to get updated. Now the skills panel, either here or press S, and now I can start putting in my specialization skills. So let's say we're going to do a hammer throw build. I pop that in here, and I can start putting my points in. It tells me how many I have. This does update if you have plus skills in your build. That's an affix that we'll cover in a future lesson. I can put my points in here as well. Very easy to do. Let's just stick with that. And then we can start working on the gear. Let's say I want to put on a chest piece. I could choose a unique. I could choose Urzel's Pride, for example. I just click on it and I save here and it loads it in. Let's get a craftable in here because it's a little more complicated. So make sure my basic is clicked on here. Is now clicked on there, and now I have all my bases, and I can choose the one that fits me the best. I really like Solarum Plate, so I'm going to click on that. Once I do, I now have prefix, prefix, suffix, suffix. I go to my prefix, I choose the one I want. We're going to go with, let's go with a what did I say this skill is? Hammer throw. Let's choose, we can actually search here. Let's do hammer throw. Is there a hammer specific? There we go. Increase hammer throw damage. Perfect. Put a tier 5 hammer throw on there. Let's choose prefix 2. We're going to not do hammer throw this time because we already have it on there. We're going to do armor shred effect. That's a good one. Then for our suffixes, these are usually defense focused. We're going to do, let's just do elemental resistance and some other resistance. Now let's do health. Health is good. Let's do health. There we go. And from here, I'm going to press save. And now that is in there and the stats are affecting. So you have 18% increased health, or it's going to be about 16 or 17. And my health is actually increased, and it tells you where you're getting your health from. I have 60 health from vitality, 48 from one of my passives, base stats from sentinel, and then this increased damage from the body armor, or increased health from body armor. Do the same with all these stats. I'm not gonna go crazy and do all these, but just as, you know, example. Go in here, crit multi, blah blah blah, whatever we want, crit strike chance, and we can actually do like not all 4 if you want. Like if you just have prioritized stats you want to put in here and not worry about it, you can just do 2, and there we go. And I've got a blue in there. We do the same thing, or a similar thing for blessings idols. We'll do blessings first because they're easy. Let's see. Black Sun is a good power one. Let's say I want crit multi again. So we put crit multi on there. We just click it and we press save, and now we've got that blessing on there as well. Now idols are a little weirder because they're shaped. I tend to start from this upper left hand corner because if I choose a 1x4, it's going to go that way, or a 4x1, however it goes, and then a 4x1 goes that way. So it's just easiest to choose the upper left for me. So let's go in here, take this. Let's do a 1x4 huge. Click on it. Prefix. Crit strike chance. Beautiful. We're going to crit build apparently. And red armor throwing attacks. Beautiful. Beautiful idol. Save, and it's in there. And now I know I can also go right here and do the same thing. Let's say I want all 4 to be the same. I'm gonna do a huge. Ornate is now blocked off because I can't put a 4x1 and a 1x4 in. Another huge. Another crit. And another shred. Boom. Let's try something different. Let's do a humble idol 2x1. Chance to bleed, sure. And fizz res. Now that one's in there. And you just keep doing this. Just start from the farthest to the left and up. And it'll be the easiest way to put them in there. We can put now in, let's put a 2x2 in. Adorned Rhea. Smite is, yeah, this is a great item. And block effect nest, sure. And there we go. And I just finished up the same way. Anything else I need to cover? How to do LE tools? It's a pretty simple system once you figure it out. Oh yeah, that's during a save build's kind of important. Let's do that too. Okay, so let's say you've got your build all complete. You assume you can get unique items. Oh yeah, we can put those in there too. Let's put a unique in here. Turn off basic just so we can see. By the way, these are on and off buttons, so you can turn on off basic, on off uniques, on off sets, so on and so forth. We want to put a unique in there. Let's just pick one at random. Transient rest. We click on that, save, and now we got a unique built in there. Now, if you want to save this is like where the system is kind of weird to me, because you can't actually save like in the website. There's no like account or anything like that. So you have to do it a particular way, and you can share it as well, which is really nice. You click on this little button here, which looks like most share icons. Click on that. It's going to give you this nice handy dandy link. Copy that link, press OK. Open up another tab, and it's going to load up exactly what I put into there. So do save that link somewhere when you're done, because trust me, you don't want to trust your browser to always get that link right if you just keep a tab open. I have lost a good number of planners doing that. So as soon as you've made it, save that link somewhere else so that you can always come back to it. And if you want to pass this link on to others, it'll work for anyone. So really, really useful. Okay, let's wrap this up. The last thing, the last third-party tool we're going to talk about is the Wiki. I don't even have the link here because, well, I don't want you to use it. The Wiki hasn't been regularly updated in quite some time. The guy who used to update it joined the Air Force and he doesn't have the time anymore. Because of that, a lot of the info in there is just not correct. A lot of people go into like the Discord or the forums or even in Twitch chat and ask questions about the stuff that they see on the Wiki. But a lot of that information, the numbers that are on there are just not right anymore. So I highly recommend just using one of these other sources and staying away from the Wiki until someone else takes it over and it gets a proper update on all the information that's on it. Okay, that is everything. That is the lesson on the tools that we use in LE. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to ask questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section. Also, if you'd like to ask those questions more in real time, you can join us on Twitch, where I stream 5 to 6 days a week. Or if you'd like to join our Discord, that's also an option too. We have a pretty good community there as well that is happy to answer questions, myself included. Keep an eye out for the next LE University. It should be real soon, and that one is going to be on stats, like the stats in the game, what they are, how they work, etc. Really good companion to this particular one. Thanks again for watching. Enjoy your time in Last Epoch, and I'll see you all again real soon.